A wall of smoke arrives in the metro area from the north as Colorado's largest fire burns toward the Front Range. New COVID-19 restrictions in several counties as our state faces its most critical test since that first wave of the virus. An investigation into who was employing the contract security guard protecting a 9 News crew the day that he shot and killed a man. Get your ballot and get ready to decide if Colorado should change the way it picks presidents. And these. What are these? All that is next. We're also worn down by month after month of pandemic talk. I want to make certain that what I'm about to say actually registers. Colorado is facing its most critical moment in the pandemic since the first wave. If we stay on our current course of cases and hospitalizations, we're headed back to the place that shut down this whole state. Now, I'm not saying that's ever going to happen again, even if we hit those same numbers, because a second time would be economically catastrophic. But that's what we're talking about right now in terms of the fast spread of this virus. Denver's trying to get everybody's attention, limiting gatherings to 5 people and suggesting, somewhat questionably, that we need masks outside when we can't social distance. Arapahoe County is moving its last call back to 11 and limiting its gatherings to 10 people. Anything to wake folks up, because we got 352 hospitalizations at last count, up 23 patients from yesterday and up 81 patients from last week. Look at how the last few days' numbers are above that curve of the weekly average. If that rate of growth holds, that curve is going to bend upward like we don't want it to. Our positivity rate today is over 5%, so that trips the alarm for public health experts who say that 5% and over suggests that there are a significant number of undiagnosed cases out there. It's the first time our weekly positivity average has been over 5% since July. Cases, honestly, they're a less important measure since they can rise with mass testing, but yeah, not good. 1,096 new cases reported today, continues a steady climb in the rate of new diagnoses since September. So this is about epidemiology. It's also about psychology. How do you convince people to keep doing the things that we know are needed in order to save lives? Here's our Anusha Roy.
What's at stake is familiar.
Favorite local restaurants' ability to survive this pandemic depends on you wearing your mask and social distancing. Your favorite local small businesses' ability to survive this pandemic depends on you wearing your face mask and social distancing.
People are still falling sick, still dying from this virus, and personal responsibility is still critical.
If we don't bring these increasing caseloads, hospitalization rates, and positivity rates down, we likely will fall backwards.
What happens if, the other 2 metrics move in the wrong direction along with the case rate metric? We will see reduced capacities for restaurants. Last call for alcohol sales will be earlier.
The mayor knows COVID fatigue is an issue. He also said the timing of guidelines reflects that very problem, as well as changes in the community and activity.
And to remind people that this is real.
Psychologist Dr. Kristen Orlowski has a different starting point, especially for those who are thinking we did follow the rules and here we are facing a third wave.
I validate it. I have that shared experience. It's really frustrating and it's really fatiguing.
Which we're all experiencing and really desire to try to have some control over our lives.
But it doesn't make the reality of what's happening with Colorado's caseload go away, which is why she's asking people to once again look at their priorities and how following health guidelines can help protect them.
Is it their family? Is it their health? Is it their job?
And if that feeling of helplessness rears its head and the consequences are stressing you out, this time around, think about what you can do while still protecting yourself from COVID.
It's okay to go to your favorite restaurant. It's okay to go for a run through the park. It's okay to play basketball in the park as long as you adhere to the guidelines.
Talking a little bit more about restaurants, they can still seat a group of 10, and that's because the city says that there's this whole other set of protocols and safety measures and oversight as well. But ultimately, what the city of Denver is trying to do is send a message that they need people to scale back their social gatherings, especially ahead of the holiday season. Kyle, we touched base with the governor's office as well, who said people need to still keep their guard up with this virus.
Anusha, what's pushing the third wave?
Yeah, we had a chat with an infectious disease specialist from UC Health, and she said there's a couple of things that they're looking at, right? We've talked about this before. We've got kids who are going back to school in person. You've got kids who are going back to college campuses. And then if they get sick, they go back home. They can infect someone else. You get the gist of the domino effect here. And she said, honestly, and she sympathizes with this, that people are tired and they want to see their family and their friends, and they're letting their guard down and they're not following all the safety precautions. And Kyle, that kind of just brings us right back up to what the city is trying to do here.
Letting their guard down now at a time when there's more virus out there than there has been since we headed up that first wave. All right, thank you, Anusha. A second-degree murder charge is expected Monday for the security guard who shot and killed a protester last weekend. Matthew Dolliff was accompanying a 9 News crew at the time. AJ Legault with our sister station in Minneapolis is in town to cover this story, which involves us. And he may have found an answer to a key question. Who did that guard work for?
For much of the last week, there's been this big lingering question of who security guard Matthew Dolliff actually worked for. Following that trail downstream, we can now tell you the answer seems to be he worked for himself.
9 News contracted with Pinkerton to provide security for its crews. Today, we learned Pinkerton subcontracted with Isborne Security Services. Isborne Security, in turn, brought in Matthew Dolliff, whom they describe as an independent contractor. A search of the Colorado Secretary of State's website shows Dolliff as the registered agent for 2 LLCs, Dolliff Arms, which has been delinquent since 2014, and Lavender Moon Farm, which is also listed as delinquent. There's also a debate raging over whether Dolliff, who is not licensed in Denver to be a security guard, even needed a license. Matt Isborne, the owner of Isborne Security, today told me this is not a security guard post. This is not a security guard assignment. This is executive protection, which is not under Denver's security guard licensing. The city disagrees and points to their statute that references the protection of individuals or property from harm. It does not matter if you call yourself bodyguard, Superman, Batman, or personal protector, said Eric Escudero with Denver Excise and Licensing.
In addition to the criminal charges that Matthew Dolliff is now facing, the city says there's also an administrative investigation underway to determine how an unlicensed armed security guard was allowed to work on Denver streets. I'm AJ Legault. Back to you.
The wall of smoke rolled down into Denver from the north late this afternoon. Had almost a biblical feel to it, and not one of the nice books in there either. The smoke is from the Cameron Peak fire that's burning west of Fort Collins, combined with smoke from the East Troublesome fire burning in Grand County. Anna took a photo of the smoke curtain being pulled down over downtown today, and William snapped his view from Highlands Ranch.
Fierce winds up in the mountains and foothills helping to fan the flames across the East Troublesome fire out there, and all of that smoke making its way to downtown Denver. Alvin Cooper capturing this just apocalyptic shot of the city. Unfortunately, poor air quality continues, and the high winds do as well. A high wind warning up in the mountains and foothills overnight with winds as high as 80 miles per hour. 30s and 40s tonight ahead of the storm system that stays just to our north. The rain and snow, and that doesn't make it into Colorado. The warmth and the wind, that returns for the start of the weekend with red flag warnings going, winds as high as 70 miles per hour. 60s and 70s on deck across the eastern plains, slightly cooler in the mountains, but that front will push through, helping to knock down temps into the 50s on Sunday.
Quick reminder about what you're doing with this week's Word of Thanks micro-giving campaign. $5 at a time, Next viewers are supporting Project Worth More. It helps refugee families adapt to life in our community and helps them to become self-sufficient in America. So it's English classes, a food bank, a dental clinic. It goes on and on. This nonprofit helps refugees feel connected and welcome in Colorado. Next viewers have raised more than $23,000 for Project Worth More since Wednesday. If you text the word thanks to 303-871-1491, I'll shoot you the link. Hey, it's our $5 way to feel good that you did something wonderful. It's the Word of Thanks campaign, and it's closing in on $1 million raised since June.
We've been talking about the national popular vote for more than a year. What do you say we quiet down and listen to the voters? Grab your ballot. We're going through the pros and cons of changing how we select a president. And drivers in Golden have one reaction. What? That's next.
it comes to politics, we don't have to agree, but let's just vote, all right? A caveat to the early voting numbers that we've been seeing. Told you yesterday how the Secretary of State's office said that ballot returns were at 24 times the level of the last presidential election at this moment. Well, it's not quite that simple. Ballots went out 3 days earlier this year, so that explains some of the early volume we've seen, which at this point includes more than twice as many ballots from registered Democrats as Republicans. So Colorado voters are going to make some kind of history with Proposition 113. If we join the National Popular Vote Compact, we will change the way that Colorado allocates its electoral college votes. If we reject the idea, it'll be the first time since 1932 that citizens have vetoed a bill passed by the legislature. Here's politics guy Marshall Zellinger.
Proposition 113 has some odd wording on the ballot. Shall the following act of the General Assembly be approved? This is about the National Popular Vote Compact, but you're being asked to approve or veto a bill passed last year by the state legislature and signed into law by Governor Jared Polis. A yes vote on Proposition 113 means you're okay with the 2019 law taking effect, which would put Colorado in the National Popular Vote Compact. Once enough states join, enough states that add up to 270 electoral college votes or more, then Colorado's electoral college votes would be awarded to the presidential candidate with the most votes nationwide and not the most votes just in Colorado. A no vote means you're vetoing the law. Colorado would continue to award its electoral college votes to the presidential candidate who gets the most votes in Colorado. 2016 was the fifth time in history that a president won the election for earning the required electoral college votes despite not getting the most votes nationwide. Currently, 14 states plus Washington, D.C. have joined the National Popular Vote Compact. If Colorado voters approve Proposition 113, the compact will have states totaling 196 electoral college votes. To become president, you need 270. So once enough states join, totaling 270 electoral college votes or more, then whichever candidate gets the most votes nationwide would also earn enough electoral college votes from the states in the compact to become president. In 2016, every state already in the compact voted for Democrat Hillary Clinton, who earned the most votes nationwide. But she lost to Republican Donald Trump because he earned the required number of electoral college votes to become president. Same in 2000. Democrat Al Gore received the most votes nationwide, but Republican President George Bush won re-election with 271 electoral college votes. If the National Popular Vote Compact were in place, Colorado's electoral college votes for Bush would have actually gone to Gore, even though Bush won in Colorado. In 1996, Colorado's electoral college votes went to Republican Bob Dole, but would have changed to blue since Democratic President Bill Clinton earned the most votes nationwide. Colorado's red vote for incumbent Republican President Gerald Ford in 1976 would also have turned blue since the most votes nationwide went to the winner, Democrat Jimmy Carter. And in 1960, Colorado's pick for Republican Richard Nixon would have gone to Democrat John Kennedy since he earned the most votes nationwide. Those who want you to vote yes point to one person, one vote, equality across the nation. And those who say no suggest Colorado will become irrelevant. Since you only need to win the popular vote, maybe you'll only visit population centers and not go to places like Grand Junction or Pueblo. Kyle, let me make an argument for both sides. One, you could say we're being ignored this year, not many visits in Colorado, COVID or no COVID. And you could say that you might want to visit a place like Pueblo regardless because we know those voters are easily swayed red and blue.
Pueblo, the most fascinating place for politics in Colorado. Marshall, thanks. Hey, some new info tonight on Prop EE, the tobacco tax question we reviewed Monday. Discount cigarette companies are now suing the state over it because it would set a minimum price for a pack of smokes. They say the big guy, Marlboro, had a hand in Prop EE to prop up its higher price cigarette business. Now, if you wanted to change your vote on Prop EE because of this information, or change any vote for any reason, you don't need a new ballot. Just bubble in the new circle and then cross out the yes or the no or the candidate name. Just cross out the wording of your former choice. Enormous beasts, long thought extinct, spotted on the hillside near Golden.
I hope it makes them smile and maybe laugh when they come by and see it.
I understand that they are not actually dinosaurs. That should come as a relief to all of us. That's next. Tonight's next question comes from Paige. She tweeted asking about these colorful creatures along Highway 93 near Golden. Just popped up out of nowhere. Paige, our photojournalist Tom Cole had the same question.
Yeah, it's been a fun conversation piece.
just north of Golden on Highway 93.
I'm basically a computer guy.
Pat Madison is putting the final touches on his family.
I've got a baby and two moms.
His family of Triceratops.
And a dad.
His work stands just north of Golden, appropriate for this part of the state. He says,
the reason why I picked the Triceratops is Golden is more or less the home of the first fossil found of a Triceratops.
This location in plain view of the highway wasn't his first choice. He was hoping he could add to his art in town.
They just had a competition for one of their public art spaces, and they selected another piece.
No big deal. Pat has some friends who like his work and offered up their property.
They said, hey, make a life-size one and you can put it on our property.
I know, Pat bought them last week and I went, what?
You may have the same reaction. People just have to stop. And that's okay with Pat. He'll chat with you if he's not too busy tending to his family.
I feel real lucky that as people come into Golden, they'd be able to see this as an entryway piece of my own.
Not bad work for a guy whose career was in computers.
I just hope people enjoy this when they come by, and it makes their day a little brighter.
For Next, I'm Tom Cole.
That's just the coolest. Don't pull over on the highway. There's a totally safe vantage point from the side road, so turn off. I like to keep my marriage spicy by wearing the occasional cardigan sweater. I know that won't work for everyone, so we have a couple rekindling their love during the pandemic in a new way. And Friday's Good News next. Fridays around here are not complete without your good news, and Marty Champion has us covered, sharing her parents' new tradition. Marvin and Bonnie Champion have been married 51 years. Keeping it spicy during the pandemic, they decided they would start dancing again. On Marvin's 82nd birthday, they got dressed up. They threw on a little jazz, danced under the carport. It has become their Saturday night tradition ever since in Denver, complete with a disco ball. They're adorable. Jackie writes in tonight about our COVID-19 coverage, saying thank you for your strong reporting and your warning tonight. Kevin's not pleased. He said, please tell people it's because we're testing more than ever before. Kevin, that wouldn't be true. As we always talk about, more testing drives up case numbers, does not drive up hospitalizations. Kim says, hey, next, can you provide a PSA to drivers in Colorado? She wrote this in all caps, but I'll keep my voice down. Don't throw your lit cigarettes out the car window when the entire state's on fire. Kim, consider that PSA delivered. And this is my favorite. This came in anonymously. Have courage, folks. Put your name on it. But this cracked me up. I hope you're paying your jacket's bottom button well, because it is working overtime tonight. It's that pandemic 17 I'm still trying to work off. See you next time.